All right, joining us now with reaction to all of this, author of Unfreedom of the Press, which is coming out very soon. He hosts Life, Liberty, and Levin right here on the Fox News Channel, host of Levin TV, nationally syndicated radio. I call him the Great One, Mark Levin. Mark, you used to be you worked for Ed Meese. You were his chief of staff. Okay, you talked at length about longstanding policy about indicting a sitting president. Barr said it had nothing to do with it. Barr said Mueller had no consideration to do with it.
Right.
So Comey, who we now know the FBI was informed fully about the dirty dossier, he signed the first FISA warrant. To me, he's the one in legal jeopardy, ironically, and not the president.
All right. What ought to happen here is there ought to be a grand jury impaneled. Comey should give testimony. McCabe should give testimony. Baker should give testimony. Strzok, Page. The whole cabal should be giving testimony. They should get a little bit of their own medicine. We should have a criminal grand jury, and we should have either a special counsel or a United States attorney take charge of this case and get to the bottom of it. Put these people under oath and let them get the Donald Trump treatment. We want all their documents, no privileges, nothing. Drag them in, and maybe drag their kids in, too. But I wanted to talk about something else, because Nancy Pelosi is quite ubiquitous these days. She's barely coherent. She is a constitutional illiterate, but that's the person they chose as Speaker of the House. And I got to thinking, she's very, very rich. She's a multimillionaire. I don't really care about that. She has a husband people don't even know. His name is Paul Pelosi. He's a San Francisco real estate developer. He's a financial investor. Tell me, how did the Pelosi's make their money? Tell me, who do they know? Are there any foreign interests? Have we seen their bank accounts? Have we seen their tax returns? I'm curious, because Nancy Pelosi, like Eva Peron today, she announced that we make the laws in the House of Representatives, and I need to remind the Speaker of the House, actually you don't. You pass bills, and they're not laws until they go through the Senate, and the President signs them. That's how the system works. But I'd like to know about all their connections, how they got so rich. I really would. What we have here is an attack on the president, an attack on his family. Collusion, special counsel, contempt, obstruction, constitutional crisis. I just started writing them down. Impeachment, tax returns, bank accounts they want. They've already leaked some of his tax information. They accuse him of campaign violations. They accuse him of being a racist, an anti-Semite, mentally unfit for office. Let me tell you what's going on here. The Democrat Party has hijacked the House of Representatives. This is an opposition research campaign. They're working for whomever the Democrat nominee is. If they can impeach the president, they'll impeach the president. What they're trying to do is drive down his ratings to get him under 30%, and then they'll go for impeachment. Otherwise, they'll act like he should be impeached. They'll talk about a constitutional crisis. These are the talking points now. They create the conflicts. They create the issues. They create the confrontation. They issue scores and scores of subpoenas. 6 committees. The committee chairman, as I speak, are meeting in dark in some shadowy room, trying to figure out how to bring down the President of the United States, how to embarrass him. They go after his businesses. They go after his son. They go after his associates. They go after his counsel. They go after him. What is the purpose of all this? Oh, well, we want to know if the IRS is working. Let me tell you a secret. The IRS isn't working. It never works. So that's not an issue. Well, we want to make sure there isn't any foreign collusion. Great. Then all you members of the House and Senate, you cough up your tax returns and your bank accounts so we can make sure you're not in the back pocket of some third world country. Well, we just want to make sure our financial system works. Well, let me tell you something. It works. You don't work. The debt is through the roof. Everybody can see through this. And it's not just the federal Democrats. Maryland and D.C., the Democrats get together there. They bring a phony lawsuit, the emoluments clause, because the president has a hotel and foreigners stay there, so he must be making money on the side. Such BS. New York, state tax returns. We're going to pass a bill of attainder, which is federally unconstitutional. What is that? A law aimed at one citizen, the president. We're going to turn his state tax returns over to Congress. Let me tell you what's going on. This is a Democrat Party cabal trying to reverse the 2016 election, trying to disenfranchise 63 million voters, mostly Republicans, independents, and some Democrats, led by a Speaker of the House from San Francisco, a chairman of the House Judiciary Committee from New York, the chairman of the Oversight Committee from Baltimore. 3 or 4 blue cities trying to change the course of this country, trying to reverse the course of the election. And let me tell you, they keep saying the American people want. They don't represent the American people. They keep saying they're following the Constitution. They're shredding the Constitution. They don't even know what's in the Constitution. It is we who are standing up to this cabal, this rogue activity. It is we who are standing up for the Constitution. And let me tell you something.
Mark.
They are playing with political fire. There are tens of millions of people who are not going to stand for this. And they are going to vote. They're going to become more active than ever before. And they are going to not only lose the presidency, they will lose the House. We will strengthen the Senate. And then maybe we'll subpoena the hell out of them. And then maybe we'll have special counsels against them. Because if they want to use Soviet tactics against Republicans, then the only way the Democrats know to stop is if Soviet tactics are used against them. That's it.
When's the book out?
The book comes out May 21. People can pre-order it on Amazon.com or any of those sites and so forth. I think it's a very, very important book.
I get the first interview for that book. We have it arranged already, but we'll make the announcement at the appropriate time. Great one. That's why we call you the Great One. Congratulations, my friend. Sunday nights, 10 p.m., the #1 show on cable. All right, it's already been a really bad week for the deep state. Here to talk about the very latest developments and help break it all down, Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham. You know, I had you on, although when you don't avoid the show by traveling all over the world and you make yourself available, this is your first job. I don't understand why you say no.
My bad.
Very bad. Exactly. I agree. Steele's stunning pre-FISA confessions. Yeah. This new report and the closed-door testimony where we know Bruce Orr under oath said, well, I told everybody in August of 2016 it's an unverified document, and the dossier, and Steele hates Trump, and Hillary paid for it. You know, as I do, that it's unverifiable, but does it not say at the top of a FISA warrant, I just learned this today, verified?
Well, it's supposed to be. You're supposed to say under oath to the court that the document I'm presenting to you is accurate. That's the whole point of getting a warrant. You got to have reliable information. But why is this so important? We know in August of 2016, Orr tells the FBI senior leadership, you got to watch this Steele guy. He's out to get Trump. Now, what do we know? That Christopher Steele went to the Department of State on October the 11th to try to get the Department of State to release the dossier to the public for political reasons. They tell the FBI, this is 10 days before they get the first warrant application verified. So 10 days before they applied for the FISA warrant, they were told in August that Steele's out to get Trump. In October, Steele goes to the State Department trying to get them to release it to the public for a political reason.
You know, you can't even make this up. Now, yeah. I understand there's a Florida case, and we might get information from Steele, but we do know in the interrogatory where he was under the threat of perjury, he actually said, I have no idea if any of this is true, 50-50 at best. So doesn't that then render the dossier, the dirty Russian dossier, unverifiable?
Well, why is this important? We should all be concerned if our government's getting a warrant against an American citizen under the FISA Surveillance Act without accurate information. What do we know? We know that without the dossier, the warrant would not have been issued. People in charge tell us that. We now know that the author of the dossier, Christopher Steele, was on the payroll of the Democratic Party. He was not a reliable informant for the FBI. He was trying to destroy Trump because he's paid by the Democrats to take Trump down. They knew all of this, or should have known all this, before they applied for the warrant. So here's what needs to happen. Somebody needs to go to the FISA court and tell them that the FBI had plenty of notice that this guy was on the payroll of the Democratic Party and he was out to get Trump, and the dossier was not verified.
Senator, I'm not that smart. Would that be a conspiracy to commit fraud on a FISA court? And where I grew up in New York, and I know down in South Carolina where you grew up, you were living in a bar. I was working in a bar till 4:30. We have similar backgrounds. Where I grew up, you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, so, yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor. And if you lie to the judge, it's not going to work out really well in the end.
Well, here's the question. How could you not know that Steele should be looked at really hard, given what Orr said and given his actions on October 11th? You got to remember, the guy who started this, Steele, went to the State Department, and I don't know why he went to the State Department, for the express purpose of having the State Department release the dossier before the election.
And that was memorialized, we now know. That's the interesting part. And we have more
10
emails coming.
days before the warrant.
Let me ask you, before the warrant, just like Orr said, he told everyone.
Yeah.
Let me go to Robert Mueller for a second. You said you don't care whether or not he testifies, that's up to him. Trump may stop it, but I don't know if I want that, because Mueller, I want to know, when did he know there was no conspiracy with the Trump campaign in Russia as it relates to collusion of any kind? When did he know that? Why did he hire only Democrats and even Hillary's attorney, and one attorney known for withholding exculpatory evidence and having a really bad track record and failing? And why was he not concerned about Hillary's dirty Russian dossier when he had plenty of time to look into the medallions and FARA laws and loan applications and taxes? I would think the Russian dossier would have been important to Robert Mueller, but what do I know?
Well, somebody needs to look at this like Mueller looked at Trump. And here's the question. Why would the FBI classify this exchange between Steele and the State Department and the FBI April of this year?
Wow. Now, this is pretty interesting.
Will
you pledge to the American people tonight, Senator, as the Attorney General told you, I thought you had the best line of questioning last week, that it's important, if Hillary's investigation into criminal activity was rigged, whether or not they tried to rig a presidential election, whether a fraud was committed against the FISA court, whether there was leaking of intel, whether the intel community was weaponized against the American people, and whether or not they tried to bludgeon the president of the United States with the opposition party candidate lies to unseat a duly elected president. Are all those issues on the table?
You better believe it for Attorney General Barr and myself. We've got to get to the bottom of it and make sure it never happens again.
Is the Mueller issue dead now?
Case closed.
Thank you, Senator. You're dismissed.
Thank you.
Joining us now, Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, and I got to give credit to both of them and the entire Freedom Caucus, including Doug Collins. It was your questioning that nobody knew about behind closed doors that got us a lot more information, and I can't wait to see the other 53 closed-door interviews that are coming. Good to see you both. Mark Meadows.
Good to be with you.
It's now beginning to unravel. The Attorney General, it's over. Mueller's dead. It's finished. They can cling as tightly as they want to their sinking ship and their conspiracy theory. But what is coming is FISA abuse, the FISA applications, the rigged investigation into Hillary, the attempt to bludgeon and undo an election, the attempts to steal an election, all now under the purview of the Attorney General and others. Where are we going with this?
Well, I think in the coming days, and by days, I mean just a few days, you will start to see a lot of this unravel. But as it unravels, part of why you're seeing Jerry Nadler and others go crazy is because they know that the truth is coming out. And for as passionate as they were today, and my good friend Jim Jordan did a great job in that committee hearing, but as passionate as they were today, they haven't been passionate when we've been in the privacy of those rooms asking those questions like Jim and I and others have. They won't even look at the documents because they don't want to know the truth. And Director Comey, he has his day of reckoning too. You know, he says they investigate. We also know that they criminally leak as well. And so it's time for accountability.
If the law is applied equally, do we have to go back to Hillary and the rigged investigation? Even, by the way, you two got the information. You didn't share it with me, which, by the way, I deeply resent. You could have shared this information and given me exclusive. But I know because of the closed-door testimony, number one, Lisa Page said, yeah, after 9 months, the FBI had nothing. But we also, Strzok and Page put all
Comey
the FBI decisions on Hillary right inside Loretta Lynch's office. Then we've got a lot more. Well, we'll see what Inspector General Horowitz says, but where do you see it going, Jim Jordan?
Well, I mean, Comey said the same thing all the way up until the day he's fired. They said they still had no evidence of any type of collusion. And obviously, the Mueller report demonstrated that as well. To Jim Comey, though, I mean, to not use the word spying, remember what we got last week from the New York Times. We got the story last Thursday where it said the FBI put a person posing as someone else to talk to George Papadopoulos in the Trump campaign.
Hold on, Jim.
That's
you got to give the
spying.
details.
That's called spying.
We had a 30-year-old flirtatious, suggestive, blonde bombshell spy trying to seduce information out of George Papadopoulos. You can't put this in a Bond movie.
Yeah, if that's not spying, tell me what is. And frankly, I don't know that anyone who actually puts much weight into what Jim Comey says now, other than CNN, who's doing a town hall with him.
Wait a minute. When he signed the first FISA warrant, okay, wasn't that a warrant based on a dirty Russian dossier that might have been Russian disinformation, according to the New York Times?
Yes.
To spy on Carter Page in the Trump campaign? Did he not sign that? Was that not spying, or am I just out of my mind?
We now have two examples of it.
It's worse than that. Yeah, it's worse than that. He actually knew that there were credibility problems before he ever entered into it. That's the problem.
Well, they didn't tell the court who paid.
Well, Mark,
they didn't tell the court who paid for it. They didn't tell the court that Christopher Steele was desperate to stop Trump, and they didn't tell the court that Christopher Steele had been fired by the FBI because he's out talking to the press, and yet they used the document.
By the way, that would be, I believe, footnote 8 in the dossier, in the application. Doesn't the application, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, and thanks for not sharing all this secret information. Both of you got the information from Bruce Orr that he warned everybody that Steele hated Trump. It wasn't verified, and Hillary paid for it. But now we have Steele at the State Department, and all that information was withheld.
Yep, exactly right, Sean.
Yeah, all of it's been held, but I think there will be some good reporting that brings all of that to light in the very coming near future.
By the way, both of you are in deep trouble because you kept all of it from me, and I hounded you to death for that information, and you wouldn't give it to me.